has been made on Jeff's. I put a switch on. That's a on and start switch. It supplies power to the alternator for the charge light and to turn the alternator on and make sure it's charging right. It supplies power and ground to the pump through the ECU. It supplies power to the ECU through a 4-pin plug plus 2 fuse connectors. So that's all ready. This thing's ready to plug directly into the existing wire harness I already built for the 280/300Z. So just a matter of literally just plugging in a few plugs and then attaching all the sensors. We've got the fuel pump routing figured out and put the pump down there, keep it down low. There's a tank. I have the outlet hose coming around here through the filter, wrapping around into the fuel manifold here, fuel rail. Okay. I've got the MAF that we'll be using. We've got the ignition switch that we'll be using. We're using a round coil because I like round coils. The return, I'm probably going to get some vinyl tubing to take this down to the tank because it's not under pressure. I've run out of vacuum hose. I have to run a vacuum line from here all the way over to this pressure control valve, which turns the vacuum on and off depending on what the computer tells it to do. So I need to get some I couldn't find any. They could not have vacuum hose at AutoZone, for crying out loud. So anyway, I need a bunch of that. The idle air control. This should have a screw that lets you set the idle. It doesn't. I think that was a later version. So the problem here is there's no real good way of setting the idle speed of the turbo engine in this particular configuration. Mine has a screw setting here that you can just tweak and manually adjust the idle. So because of that limitation here, I'm going to experiment with this thing. This is an IAC out of I think it's a Ford Escape. It's a normally closed air valve that is without power. There are no air passes. Apply power and air will pass, and it's basically pulse width modulated by the ECM. Will that control the idle speed? I have no idea what it's going to do to the idle speed. Who knows? But here's what I was thinking. Worst case scenario, I'll just tap a hole right there, put a screw in it, and push that screw. It'll come into direct contact with this little piston in here, and push that, and you can crack open the idle. So you'll have basically a manual idle adjustment right here to replace the screw fitted that's supposed to be on this thing, but this one doesn't have it. Let me show you. I don't know if you can see it here or not. Gotta go to my engine. Oh, let's go look at my engine. I'll show you what I mean. See, mine has this little thing here coming off this, and you can adjust the idle speed right there, okay? But for some reason, this particular model servo does not have it, so that's a problem. So we'll be experimenting with this IAC. See, first of all, if it can be controlled by the ECM. If it does, what does it do? How does it work? How's the idle? With nothing, just crank it up and see where it idles. See if it just bypasses enough air to idle. Maybe it's set up that way. Maybe it's designed for a certain factory default of idle air, and that'll be good enough. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But I really want to try this. I did not want to give up on idle air control since the computer provides it. Why not use it? So that's where we are. I could plug in the harness, and that takes 5 minutes to plug everything in to get it running. The only other thing I have to do is I still have to change out the chopper wheel here for the number one cylinder. Has to have an extra wide slot. That's it. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, I think Jeff has a detonation sensor. I have an extra one that he gave me that's busted. I mean, it's busted. That means a part of the plastic. I think it'll still work, so I need to put the detonation sensor in here. I've got a manual pressure gauge, a British standard pressure gauge to fit right in here. So we'll get oil pressure. And over here, I'm going to install a thermometer, a big 2-inch round thermometer to directly read the water temp of the head. So we'll have a read the temperature of the head. We'll be able to check the oil pressure He has a fuel pressure built into his regulator right here, so that we don't have to have a separate gauge for that. And all I got to do is just plug up any of the remaining vacuum hoses that might have been missing. There's a whole bunch of little guys, you know, that need to be tapped off. But anyway, it's getting really close, but we made some progress today. It was a bear because I got this stupid switch over here from Nissan. It broke on me before I even had it installed, so I went down to AutoZone and got a much better quality, so I feel really good about that. Jeff had some extra battery cables I was able to use to hook everything up. It's all, I got a bunch of fuse links in there to hopefully protect things. I don't know what Jeff's ultimate goal is on the fuel routing, because, you know, I think he's putting this into a 240, and I don't know how I assume the fuel comes at the same place over here, but he'll have to work that out. This is just temporary, just a way to do it. You know, keep the fuel line out of the way. Anyway, that's it for now. More to come. I'm going to hopefully get the remaining fuel lines, the vacuum lines, all that kind of stuff hooked up, and in the next few days maybe be able to give a test run. But this turned into a big of a cluster because of that stupid switch. I'm really mad about that. I spent a lot of time futzing around with that thing, and it ultimately ended up breaking and not working. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.